Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on The Order, a movie about a gang of white supremacists who turn to bank robbery, and this snowballs into more terrorist activity. And this was a real thing, and Jude Law is going to stop it. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 15, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. This is a real thing. I mean, this was a real thing, I probably should say. I believe it was called The Order, if I'm not mistaken. Back when I was in college, I was taking a journalism class, and we had to pick a story to do. And initially, I picked a story about a white supremacist gang in upstate New York who robbed a bank to fund their activities. Eventually, I dropped it because I felt I was giving too much attention to the white supremacists, so I switched to a different story. But I had done some research, and so, yeah, this is legit. But this is also legit for any hardcore ideology. It tends to, if there are enough numbers, it tends to degenerate into criminality. And then that criminality, if it lasts long enough, they become a criminal organization for, money, basically. From acclaimed director Justin Kurzel and Academy Award nominated writer Zach Balan. So this sounds like it's going to be good. It's based on a true story. And this takes place probably in the 80s, it looks like. Late 70s, early 80s. Early 80s would have been about when I was researching this. So, and that looks like Mark Maron. Although they kind of put a more makeup on him, made him look a little older. There was a radio host that was killed, if I'm not mistaken, in that era. So maybe he represents that guy. But Jude Law is going to, it's a typical thriller. It's the first act. You're going to see Nicholas Hoult, who is the gang leader, his rise. Second act, Jude Law is brought in on the case. He starts investigating, talks to one of the ex-members, I think, and then starts talking to some of the this guy is sort of a spiritual leader of the, I'll call them the new bad guys from Germany. And he tries to, locate the guy. And but basically what they do is they use the bank robberies to fund their terrorist activities. And they're going to recruit. But, and this happened on the left as well. This happened with the Weather Underground. And again, you can quote me, I believe this will eventually happen with Antifa. Eventually, you're going to see the very, very hardened members become criminals. And they're going to try to organize robberies like this in order to fund terrorist activities. They use it to fund recruitment and then more terrorism is the idea. Ultimately, though, what tends to happen is the gangs the gang leader tends to be the ideologically motivated one, and the guys around him not so much. So when he's either caught or killed, the guys around him take over, but they're not as ideologically committed, but they are committed to the bank robberies. So they tend to continue on with the criminality, and then the ideology kind of collapses. Journey Smollett, is that someone related to Jesse Smollett? So it seems to be a competent thriller, and then in the third act, Jude Law is going to stop them, but they never really stop because they're, it's they probably get Nicholas Hoult and a few of his guys, and then there's some guys left, and then the implication is, it's going to be continuing. This comes out in December. I think it's a bad time to release a movie like this. It's a little too hard for December. I think you want to release lighter movies during this time. I don't think you want to release a thriller about white supremacists in America in the 80s. A little too specific. Um, but it's weird that Nicholas Hoult and Jude Law, both who are not American, are playing Americans in this. You know, it's funny because like English actors can do pretty good American accents overall, very believable ones. Um, and then they get to play roles like this. And it kind of undermines it a little bit, I think. Not so much Nicholas Hoult because I don't know, he's not known for his English accent as much. He's not as famous, but like Jude Law is pretty famous. Like, and in most of the roles, he usually has an English accent, so it's kind of weird to see him not do an accent. Like when you see Russell Crowe in L.A. Confidential, he was relatively unknown when he was in that movie. So like, I didn't have a lot of experience with him and his real accent. So he comes off very believable as an American. Jude Law, it's almost kind of tough, right? Because you kind of, you know, he plays Watson. He's played a bunch of roles where he just, you know, uses his normal voice, and he has a bit of an English accent. I think it's English, right? Um, so yeah, it's just kind of interesting. It looks like a competent enough movie. It's not one I want to see in December, though. Let's see. Let's see if there's a write-up of this thing. To the IMDb that knows all. All right, here it is. A series of bank robberies and car heists frightened communities in the Pacific Northwest. Oh, it's the Pacific Northwest. A lone FBI agent believes that the crimes were not the work of financially motivated criminals, but rather a group of dangerous domestic terrorists. So, yeah. And it's weird that it's in the Pacific Northwest because that's exactly where probably the current Pacific Northwest terrorists will emerge. Only their ideology will be different, I believe. Anyhow, yeah, it's called The Order. Probably would wait for it on streaming if I saw it at all. It looks okay. Think it might be a okay thriller. Just odd casting. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on the green site, the orange site, and the black site for more videos. I will not, repeat, not be in the Manchester Library tonight at 7. We had to reschedule it. There was a bit of a conflict. No big deal. Sorry to anyone who planned to come out tonight. Next event is at the Night Market in Bridgeton from 7 to 11. I will be doing the talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil. But repeat, Manchester is postponed to be rescheduled at a later date. Hope to see you in Bridgeton. We'll see you in the next one.